Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at, or rather working with this computer, which is this old pre-built that I bought some time ago, and I've never quite sold it. It's had a couple of different configurations. A lot of times I'm pricing these sort of optimistically to begin with, but since I haven't looked at it and I've sort of pulled parts from it in the past, it's not really fit to sell right now, which is something that I'm gonna remedy today by getting this thing set up and ready to go, ready to be sold. And hopefully this time around I can put it at a little bit more of an aggressive price point so it can actually move out the door. But I want to take you through the process that I use to get these computers ready to sell when I do bring in either pre-built or other computers, whether I assemble them just with the parts or actually have them pre-built and just add in graphics cards and new drives, new storage, that sort of thing. I want to take you along for the ride. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up and take a look at what we're working with to begin with, and then we can kind of go from there and figure out just what we're doing with this computer. So I guess I jumped ahead just a little bit. One of the first things that I always do with pre-builts, and this one probably doesn't need it so much because I did do this the first time around and it's really just been sitting in a closet since then, not really running, is get my data vac out and just completely blast any dust and debris out of this computer. A lot of times I then get a rag in there and actually hand wipe down everything. But the data vac is a fantastic product if you're doing a lot of dusting with compressed air. This is a one-time expense that will save you money over the course of its lifetime. This particular one runs anywhere from $80 down to, it looks like, about as cheap as $70. But I'll go ahead and link a data vac down below in case you're interested in this, because it's a fantastic way to clean out your PC. And I absolutely love this thing. I'm so happy I got it. It has a lot of power behind it. It's a great product. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the side panel off this computer and take a look inside it. I don't even actually know if I have any drives or really anything in it. Looks like I do have RAM in here. So over here, I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess that this is gonna be 8 gigabytes, but I'll pull out a stick just to check it out. Yes, this is gonna be an 8 gigabyte kit of DDR3 RAM. This is a Haswell system, and I actually believe this is an i3 Haswell in here. So we're not gonna set this thing up to be a really powerful gaming rig. We're gonna set this up to be an entry-level gaming rig that does have somewhat of an upgrade path down the road. So you start out with just esports with this thing, and then you can actually upgrade the CPU to an i5 or maybe even an i7, and then you can also later on upgrade the graphics card, though you have to be careful with these pre-builts because different ports can often be in the way. They can get a little bit sketchy on what graphics cards will and will not fit in them. But I think I have just the thing. Here we are with a budget card that I have laying around, and this I think is going to be perfect for this Dell i3 Haswell build. This is an RX 560. This is actually a 4 gigabyte version, which is really nice because I think it'll sell considerably better than a 2 gigabyte version would sell. But the great thing about this card is it takes no external power whatsoever. So I'm going to be able to just plug it straight into the motherboard and I'll be set up and ready to go. It looks like I already have a drive in there. And if I remember correctly, this drive is one that actually needs tossed out because it has a vicious coil whine with it. You can hear it clicking, all kinds of things. The one thing that I almost always replace with these pre-builts is their hard drives, unless they have something like a 1 terabyte drive or a 500 gigabyte drive that just looks like and sounds like it's performing well. Then sometimes I'll just put in an SSD in these builds to get a little bit snappier on the OS side of things. But if I recall correctly, this drive is pretty much garbage, and it looks like the last time I tried to set this thing up to sell, I did go ahead and pop an SSD up here. That's a 120 gigabyte SSD, so that's great because it'll make getting everything set up just a little bit easier. But I am gonna add in a hard drive here because I do want a little bit of mass storage for this, and I actually have several hard drives laying around that hopefully don't have a sick coil whine to them. So I'm probably going to be looking at a 120 gigabyte SSD, and I think since this is going to be a very budget system, I'm going to throw a 500 gigabyte hard drive in there. I think I have an unopened one laying around that should be just perfect for this system. So let's go ahead and get this thing out and get the new hard drive in. So this hard drive is actually a 500 gigabyte Seagate Barracuda drive, and I really wish it didn't have the coil whine going on with it, because it would make a great drive for this PC. But I really hate selling a drive that's gonna drive the owner crazy, because the last thing I want is to have one of these come back on return because somebody just couldn't take it. So I want to build a quality budget gaming PC. I don't want anything hidden under there. So I do want to put a quality drive in it. And to be frank, these even new 500 gigabyte hard drives, or even the refurbished ones, you can typically find for at most $25. If you're paying $30 for a 500 gigabyte 3.5 inch hard drive, you're probably paying a little bit too much. So they're not expensive to find, and no more than I'm putting in these PCs, I should still be able to turn a profit, even if I am throwing in an SSD and a hard drive and a graphics card. Like, there's still money to be made in these, because I'm buying these pre-builts extremely cheaply, like well under $100 for the most part. So I have no problem throwing in a hard drive or throwing a little bit of money at it to make it a better PC, because ultimately it's gonna come back in profit anyways. Now, something I'm not gonna be doing with this PC right now is actually replacing thermal paste on the CPU, and that's only because I've done that recently. I've had this computer apart somewhat recently. However, again, if this was a brand new, or rather new to me, pre-built computer coming in for the first time, I every time take off this cooler, replace the thermal paste, put usually Arctic MX4 on it, just because that's kind of my go-to thermal paste, and slap that cooler right back on after cleaning it up. Looks like the system actually cleaned up really well to begin with, and being only an i3 under there, there's no way this thing is gonna run any kind of hot. So I'm absolutely happy with right now the cleanliness of the system. There's a tiny amount of dust here and there, but it's nothing to be concerned about. All the fans look clean, so provided they're all spinning up and not running loudly, I'm not gonna worry about cleaning this PC any more than I already have. Really, the only other thing I need to do on the hardware side then is to throw in the graphics card. So now that the graphics card is back in this PC, that's only half of the sort of struggle here getting a computer ready. I've dealt with the hardware side of things. I've cleaned it up, put new thermal paste in there, added in the SSD that I want, replaced the hard drive. All the hardware things are good to go now. And now we have to work on the software side, because the other thing that I do with all of my computers that I sell is I put a brand new Windows 10 Pro installation on these computers with it activated, because I think it's really annoying to buy a computer that doesn't come with an activated version of Windows. I know some people don't mind running the unactivated version of Windows 10, but I think it's just a common courtesy to go ahead and throw it in there, especially because on eBay you can find a key for under $5, and it's actually something I expect to have already been done for this computer. Since I've tried to sell it before, I imagine at some point I did go ahead and throw in a key there as well. But regardless, I guarantee this SSD doesn't have anything going on with it as far as having an actual installation ready to go. So I need to reinstall Windows 10 on the SSD, set up the hard drive to be a mass storage drive, and then really at that point I want to run some testing to make sure this computer actually performs well. And also because when I'm posting these things to sell, I like to have some hard statistics to throw at potential buyers so they know exactly what kind of performance they're buying, usually in a couple of the most modern free-to-play games. Today I think I'm going to be testing Fortnite and Apex Legends, because those are right now, for my money, the most popular games out there, largely because they're free to play. But I think a lot of people will be interested to know before they actually buy this thing how those games run on this hardware. So let's go ahead, get the software set up, and I'm just gonna fly through that on like a speedy time-lapse type thing, and then we'll run a couple of gaming titles.
Trouble to sleep now for a couple of nights. Need to rebuild myself to come alive. It all makes sense now that the lights out. It's a different world to me, it makes me feel down. Wait until the storm comes down, until the sleep comes and makes it alright. Waiting for the morning
So there it is, guys. That is how I set up my PCs when I get them into my office here to get them ready to sell. If you like this video, let me know about it down below. Actually, go ahead and comment and let me know if there's something that I don't do that you do if you're somebody that actually goes around buying and selling computers, or is there something that I do that may have given you a good idea on what to do in the future? Let me know those things down below. And of course, while you're there, leave a like, share, subscribe. All those things are very helpful to the channel. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. I'll leave that tag over at the bottom of the screen, and I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.